So you, Northern Pikes, and Crash Test Dummies are coming to Falls View Casino. What can people expect from the show?
Well, I'm not sure what everybody else is going to be doing, but for my show, I will play a real range of songs from songs you might know of mine from the radio, like popular songs, as well as deep album cuts and some newer music as well. It's going to be me with a guitar, so it's going to be a very intimate show, probably lots of stories and a lot of music.
Awesome. And now a lot of people know you for your early work, and for your more like adult geared music, but you also have released a number of songs for kids, including a Grammy-winning album and a new release early this year. What inspired that, and how has having kids played into that down the line?
Yeah, I started putting out kids' music before I even had kids. I think I'm such a nostalgic person. I
Mm.
love the music of my childhood, some of which was grown-up music, but I really connected with it. And recently I put a record out called That's What It's All About that has a lot of those songs on it. Songs like Don't Fence Me In, a lot of classics, the Doodlin' song, If I Knew You Were Coming, I'd have baked a cake. But I also really connected with the Sesame Street music and entertainment of the 1970s and Steve Martin and the record Free to Be You and Me. So I've spent the last 20 some odd years trying to connect with that nostalgic feeling, creating really great music for people of all ages. And once I had kids, it's funny, once I had kids, I started making kids music a little differently. The first record I made once I started having kids was actually a nursery rhymes record, because I didn't realize how attached, for some reason, kids really do like nursery rhymes. And I thought it'd be really fun to do an album of classics. And then I went back from there. I went back to doing more originals and covers of songs that aren't necessarily those nursery rhymes.
Mm.
So now my kids really want me to focus more on they've never been like kids music fans per se. They just like good music, and my daughter especially wants me to continue making more grown-up records. I like doing both because children's music is a way to really tell stories in a different way than I would normally do it in my
Mhm.
grown-up music, and it's actually even impacted the way I write grown-up music. It's helped me in my storytelling. I probably will play at least one kid's song, which is really more like a folk song, at my show as well.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I looked back at some of your past set list ahead of the interview and saw you do like you have played a couple like kids songs or like old folky songs, and I thought that was really cool.
Yeah, those are songs. It's what I like about them is people, sometimes it's fun when you're in an audience if you don't know all the music of the artist you're seeing. It can be quite a lot of new music, but sometimes if you I don't know, there's certain songs that tell the stories and you can understand them immediately. They're still really entertaining. It's not that they're simple, it's just they're written in a way that people can take them in on the
Mm.
spot. And so that I think that's good for an audience to be able to sit back and just enjoy.
And now as far as your classics, I guess. The longevity of Stay, like it kind of spurred your career 30 years ago, and it's still very popular. Like it's still on the radio all the time. And I guess how how do you look back at that and from like how far you've come now, and how do you appreciate that now?
I appreciate it. I appreciated it since the moment it happened. There
Mhm.
was a little blip in there early on when it's funny, we still laugh about it. The drummer in my band, back at the time, and I still play with him, John Feinberg. We were playing at CBGB's right after the song got really popular, and CBGB's is a classic club in New York City for rock bands. And we were playing this kind of smallish show at the CBGB's, and he said, "Are we going to play Stay?" And I was like, he was like, "We shouldn't play it. It's too popular." And I'm like, "Of course we're going to play it. People drove in from out of town to see that one song." Like, I appreciate that as an audience member. There's so many bands that I know that have like the one song that drew me in, and sometimes that's the only song of that band that I know. So I totally appreciate it. I love that it's taken me all over the world. We've been able to have fun with the song and parody it in many different ways. It still means so much to me, and I'm also excited because it was a song that was a typical song of mine at the time. It wasn't a song that a record company made me write. It's not one of my simpler songs. So it kind of sets people up to hear the other songs in my catalog.
Mhm. As far as the singer-songwriter music from the 90s goes, it has like a certain magic to it. I feel like it's relatable, oftentimes emotional. How do you feel about the genre as a whole, I guess?
of the 90s. There's just
Yeah.
so many different types of music within there. I think, it was definitely a time where most of us were still writing songs with instruments. You'd have to
Mm.
sit with a guitar, with a
Mm.
piano, maybe with a beat. But it, but the digital technology, although we were using it to a certain extent, especially in the 90s, I recorded my first few albums um, on digital. They were some of the first recordings done on digital technology, and but we were using still our analog minds, and so I think we end up with songs that really glue together really well,
Mm.
because you can play those songs with just a guitar, just a piano, or a cappella or whatever. And so I think that helps contribute to its timelessness.
And now when you started playing, you started on piano, correct?
I did. I started on piano, and in my family growing up, that was the instrument that you took piano lessons. And then when I was a young teenager, I was very like almost I was almost scared to tell my dad, like, hey, you know what? I really want to switch to guitar instead of doing piano. I felt like I was like breaking the tradition in some weird way. Um, but they were very supportive, my parents, of me taking guitar lessons instead of piano. And although I use piano still sometimes when I'm writing, guitar is my primary instrument now.
Nice. You've also done quite a bit of acting. How do you feel about acting?
Well, I was an actor growing up. I That was one of my biggest passions. I loved taking acting classes. I was in a lot of plays and a few musicals all through school and through college. And while I was doing that, I was also developing my skills as a musician, songwriting, um, and the songwriting and performing music. That was just always the most successful thing.
Mhm.
And also, I don't know if this is the reason, but I often played very young. So when I was in high school, I was like a little kid in the play. I was the newsboy in the musical Working. I wasn't like the grown up. And so I was always sort of, even when I was in my late 20s, I played a high school student in a horror movie. Um, and music was something that I could have more control over. I could sit and write music or play concerts without somebody casting me to do that. But when I've had the opportunity to do acting, whether it's playing myself in different capacities and different settings of different shows, I really enjoy doing that. It's something that I would love to at some point return to more thoroughly, like maybe do a play or a musical. It's just something that I love. It's something that I use a lot in my music and my music performing as well.
Is it true you wrote a musical as well? Co-wrote
Yeah, I wrote
one?
a kids musical with a small group of people that I collaborate with a lot called Camp Capuana, and
Mhm.
it premiered in at the Anarch Center in Miami, this beautiful theater, and then we did it again at the Atlantic Theater off Broadway in New York, and we're working on getting it on the road. So it's a musical that's near and dear to my heart. It was inspired by my summer camp record called Camp Lisa, and we wanted to tell a story about summer camp. And I'm so glad that I feel like now in the public, summer camp has become much more popular. There's a lot more entertainment related to summer camp than there was when we started with this project.
Mhm. Back to acting just for a second because you were in my favorite sitcom ever, Community, and
Oh,
you have
yeah.
an original song in that, correct? Pillar of Garbage. You wrote that?
Yes, I did not write that. That
You did
was
not write
written
that.
by,
Okay.
no, Pillar of Garbage by Natalie's Freezing, right?
Yes.
It was so much fun to be on that set. All the actors, they had been working together for such a long time, so it was like a family. That it was similar when I was on Fuller House.
Mhm.
Just all these actors who've been working together for such a long time. Everybody's really professional, but it's fun to hang out and be on the set. Um, I really enjoyed that experience.
Yeah, I guess I read somewhere, and I guess it was wrong that was written by you, and so I guess my question was going to be how it was writing from a perspective of a character. So like,
Oh, I do write a perspective when
what I
I
was
write
gonna.
for movies and TV, like when I wrote for the movie Twister, the first movie, I
Mhm.
wrote from the perspective of the main character, and that's what we get to do sometimes. I wrote all the music for a TV series called If You Give a Mouse a Cookie. It's an animated series. I
Mhm.
wrote it with my friend Rich Jacks, and we got to write and the writers of the show, like we worked together on the lyrics, and we got to write. It was almost like writing a musical. I recently wrote some songs for the Barbie for Barbie with some collaborators, and it's really fun to take other people's ideas and figure out how to communicate those through characters and through different sounds, that make sense for that particular project.
That's really cool. Yeah, because I was just um, when I had read that, my mind went to that's like just such an interesting experience to have to write, not from your own experience and perspective, but have to like kind of put yourself in that mindset too. And yeah, and I guess like writing a musical, same thing.
Yeah, I love it.
Writing
I love
for
that. I love that challenge.
yeah. The last thing I have, you have an eyewear line as well as
Yes.
mentioned all of your art. You have that because obviously your iconic look.
Yes. I mean, I wear, I've been wearing glasses since I was a young teenager. And as I went along, I have very specific style, and it's always been my search to find the perfect frames. And so when I had
Mm.
an opportunity to have my own eyewear line and work with a company in San Diego, I jumped at the chance. They were looking for someone to work with. They hadn't worked with any celebrities before, and I just had so many people stopping me, telling me that they were proud of wearing their own glasses because they saw me on TV wearing glasses, or that their child had worn their glasses and felt more comfortable because of me. And between eyewear being such a big hobby of mine and a big interest of mine, um, and also understanding how important it was and how much it meant to other folks, I decided that I did want to have an eyewear line. And so I've had Lisa Loeb eyewear for, I think, over 15 years. And we continue to make new styles all the time, primarily for women and children.
Mm.
And one of the places you can get it is Costco, and also up in Canada at Costco.
And is there anything else that I haven't asked that you would like the people of Niagara Falls and Western New York to know ahead of the show?
I don't know. We've talked about so much. I mean, they can always tune in to listen to me on Sirius XM 90s on 9. I have a daily show and I interview lots and lots of bands. Everyone from Leanne Rimes to Weird Al Yankovic to Crash Test Dummies. And I've just I had the opportunity to speak to so many different artists and hear about what life was like back in the 90s versus now and the new projects people are working on. So people should, take a listen to that. And follow me on my socials. So if you have any requests that you'd like to share with me, let me know. But I look forward to being up there and playing the show and doing a little meet and greet, I believe probably after my show, and seeing the fans up there.
Awesome. Thank you for taking the time to speak with me today. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yeah. And have a good day.
Thank you, you too.